Hello there, welcome. Hope you are having a great day today. So, I have decided I'm going to mix things up a little this week. This is Holy Week. So, instead of covering our next chapter in Exodus, I want to focus this week only on some of the events leading up to the crucifixion and resurrection during Holy Week. So maybe you've heard of Holy Week, you're not sure what exactly happens there. I'm going to talk to you about that this week. So yesterday was actually the beginning of Holy Week, and we have something called Palm Sunday. And you can hear Annie Mae, she must want to talk about Holy Week. Anyway, yesterday was Palm Sunday. What Palm Sunday is, this is the Sunday that Jesus was going into Jerusalem. And on this Sunday, he rode into Jerusalem on the back of a donkey, and the people praised him. They were shouting, "Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna in the highest." They were thrilled for him to be there. It was a joyous time. But as we are going to see, as the week goes on, that is going to shift. And it actually begins to shift on Monday of Holy Week. So I want to read from you from Mark chapter 11, verse 12. And it says, "The next morning as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. He noticed a fig tree in full leaf a little way off. So he went over to see if he could find any figs. But there were only leaves because it was too early in the season for fruit. Then Jesus said to the tree, 'May no one ever eat your fruit again.' And the disciples heard him say it. When they arrived back in Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple and began to drive out the people buying and selling animals for sacrifices. He knocked over the tables of the money changers and the chairs of those selling doves, and he stopped everyone from using the temple as a marketplace. He said to them, 'The scriptures declare, my temple will be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you have turned it into a den of thieves.'" What exactly is going on here? So, as I was thinking about this scripture, I thought, was Jesus hangry? Do you guys know what hangry is? It's when you get really hungry, and there's a crossover between hungry and angry. I get hangry. And it appears maybe Jesus was hangry here. He was hungry. He went to the fig tree. There was no fruit. He cursed the fig tree and said, "You will never produce fruit again." He is also very angry in the temple. Why was he so angry in the temple? Well, just to give you a little background, the Holy Week was the week of Passover, and people were coming from all over to the temple to worship and present their sacrifices. We know that they had to have an animal to sacrifice for the atonement of their sins. And these people had traveled very, very far. So they didn't always bring a sacrificial animal with them. And because of that, they could buy an animal to sacrifice at the temple. So what the people, the merchants in the temple did is they jacked up the prices. Just like, think about it this way. When you go to a ball game or the movies and popcorn is outrageous? Or another example, I'm getting ready to head to the airport this afternoon, and if you've ever been in an airport, everything is super expensive because they know once you go past security, you can't leave to get cheaper options. So in Jesus's day, these people who were merchants of the temple knew that the people were stuck. They had to pay a lot of money for their sacrifices. They also charged a lot of money for food. So it was a racket. It was basically a racket. And Jesus saw this, and he was so furious. He turned over the tables. We think about Jesus being quiet and mild, and he was. But he had anger. He was a human. And his anger here was justified. So those are the things that were happening on day 2 of Holy Week. I'll see you back here tomorrow. We'll talk about what happens on day 3, and we'll see if Jesus is still hangry.